Hello, listeners. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Settalks podcast. We'll be having a new host, a new guest in our episode for today, in person of Jane Ayohai. I'll just give her the opportunity to introduce herself very briefly before we move further.
Hello everyone, my name is Jane, your next door neighbor friendly girl.
Okay. Thank you. So, what we'll be looking at today is an exciting topic. Like I said, it's desperation and deceit. What CBEX has taught us about Ponzi scams. For those of us that are chronically online, I want us to take our mind back to early 2025. Imagine you're scrolling through social media late at night, there's nothing you're doing, and then all of a sudden, someone sends like a voice note to your group chat or to you directly, you know, and then the person is telling you about an investment platform that is paying people double their capital within just a few days you know. So the platform is called CBEX, a so-called crypto investment platform. It was everywhere. I could not escape it. WhatsApp status, Twitter feed, just anybody that was just online, you would surely come across CBEX, you know. And then it came with a whole package, glossary dashboards, referral codes, social media influencers were even hyping the whole thing up. And then testimonies just started coming out, and then people were just seeing different things about CBEX. CBEX this, CBEX that. You see people tweeting their returns. I just made 50K from CBEX in just 3 days. And CBEX was the real deal. It promised so many people. It promised Nigerians 25% returns from what I heard, on in 5 days. That's 25%. Just let that sink in. Just have that particular percentage in your mind. 25% in 5 days. But behind the scenes, something very, very sinister was actually unfolding. CBEX wasn't just was not registered with what's this organization, the
Securities.
Securities and Exchange Commission. Um, it did not have any visible funders. It did not have anybody sponsoring any credible sponsor, And their so-called trading bots were supposedly making all the profits non-existent. By March 2025, the whole thing had collapsed. People could not withdraw their funds. All the WhatsApp group that were created because of CBEX, the Telegram channels, they just went silent. The Twitter accounts that were promoting CBEX, they either went private or they deleted all the tweets concerning CBEX, So,
Yes, and from the thing with all these kinds of investments,
yeah.
people are not just only trying to invest for themselves, they are bringing their family members, they're bringing their siblings, they're bringing their church members, they're bringing their mechanics, anyone they feel like either would have their referral code or just feel like this supposed investment platform would better their lives. They are sharing this gospel with them. In some
Mm,
areas, right, CBEX was a movement. When it got to its peak, CBEX was promising Nigerians a way out of suffering because the
mm,
country is hard. There's inflation,
fact.
the middle class is not middling again, the minimum wage is still is everybody's barely finding it hard to like cope. So when you see something that is offering you 50% returns on your investment, and there's a sort of way, or it gives preaches to you a, oh, this thing supposedly works this way. There's something is investing and all. It's more believable, right?
Yeah.
But the aftermath was brutal. Some people lost their life savings. For others, it wasn't even just their own money. They encouraged people to join and they borrowed to invest. And with loss comes depression, people losing their livelihoods, their homes, they won't be able to pay rent. Like maybe you pawned or you
Mm, mm,
um use your machine, your bike or your property for
to sell it, yeah.
to as a loan or as a leverage to get more money, and you're
Yeah.
losing this thing. And with all these things, with severe losses, people will start having suicidal thoughts and all that, though we haven't heard anybody jumped into a
Mm,
well due to loss, but
yeah, yeah,
hopefully we don't get to hear that.
yeah.
It wasn't really just about the money, it was more about the shattered trust and the dash hope that and the desperation that turned into despair.
It's quite unfortunate. I mean, I'm just all the in fact the whole scenario is just replaying in my head again as I'm thinking about it, as we're discussing about it now. You know, uh, it just brings up the importance of understanding what Ponzi schemes are, and how they work. For many of us that are not aware, these things are not new. They've been around for as long as the 1900s, many, many years ago. But I mean, today is not just the an episode for us to go into the history of Ponzi schemes. We just want to talk about how they work. They've been around for quite some time, but here in Nigeria, they've taken on different forms. Unfortunately, I'm a victim of MMM. Just like many, I'm sure many of our listeners too are victims of these kind of Ponzi schemes, MMM, Rackstelly, Loom, and all that stuff. And now we have CBEX, the latest, the latest Ponzi scheme now, CBEX. So how do Ponzi schemes actually work? It's quite very simple. I'll try to break it down very briefly. A Ponzi scheme uses money from new investors to pay earlier investors. That's just the way it works. People that are joining are the ones paying people that have joined earlier. There's no actual profit being generated from any real business. When it comes to Ponzi schemes, there is no real generation of profit from a real business or an actual business. It's just a cycle of taking from one person to pay another. As long as new people keep joining, the illusion of success just keeps on continuing, and it's just like a cycle. But then the moment those that are withdrawing, the moment those that are getting money outweigh the number of new investors, that is the people that are joining, it's bound for collapse. It suddenly to just collapse. So that's just in a very short, summarized version of how the Ponzi scheme works. The scheme works. You know.
Yeah, and to really add to that, right? It's not necessarily a cycle. The issue with a Ponzi scheme is that it it requires that new people keep coming in. So when new people come in, you are literally exploiting the next set of people to come in. So when there are no more people to exploit or to gather funds from, and there's not, and the top of the investors can't pay the lower part, because that's not how it works. It's not a closed system; it's an open
Oh,
system.
okay.
It crashes, right? And one thing about Ponzi scheme is that they like to use buzzwords, they like to use futuristic. I can remember when MMM came and they were like, it's a supporting investment support system kind of thing. So a lot of these Ponzi's are painted in and they are wrapped around investment support. They make it sound good to you for you to invest your money. Like I think one of the reasons why CBEX really hooked people was because everybody is familiar with trading and they know that trading can come with its own challenges. But when
Mm.
done well, right, um, people can see seemingly good returns.
Returns their
And
profits.
they
Yeah.
sprinkle a bit of, oh, it's a bot that's trading, it's not people, so we're eliminating human error. And it gets people to be like, oh, okay, 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 it's not somebody taking my money, there's something going on. And it's just really a way of exploiting people's
Mm,
desperation,
mm,
right? The economy is tough. People's 2K is not going where it used to go before, and
mm.
everybody is looking for ways, and it's a matter of just being desperate and looking for a way to just ensure that your 2K stretches for you,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And I think that's why it's sad because it's not only just exploiting people, it's exploiting the desperation of our economy,
Oh,
right? Yeah.
that's a profound perspective. Honestly, I didn't even think before we started this session. I didn't consider this angle that you brought up. But it's just quite unfortunate, you know. The real question now is why are Nigerians constantly falling victim? Why are Nigerians so vulnerable to things like this? You know, the thing is one thing I've realized is people rarely talk about the shame, the stigma that comes from being scammed. You know, you hear people mocking their friends, mocking victims. You hear things like "mumu investor," "na greed kill am," "na long truth kill am." But then they fail to address the real questions. They don't understand that it is not greed. It's easy to ask why do people keep falling for these scams, but the real question, in fact, is what's pushing people into this pushing people into the arms of these fraudsters, these scammers. And the plain and simple answer is desperation. And all the scammers know it, desperation. We live in, like you said, in an economy where things are getting hard. They are not actually getting better. I don't want to sound negative, but it's just the way things are. So they try to play on that desperation to exploit people. You pointed out the unemployment rate. You pointed out the 2K that is not 2K in a game. So the unemployment rate is quite high. The inflation is biting so many people. Those are the top and those are the bottom. For many people, their usual 9 to 5 is not even cutting it for their basic needs. So when someone comes to come and preach to you or give you a vision or sell you a dream of quick returns, the temptation is very real, because you look at it in contrast to what you are going through. You look at it in contrast to what you are going through now and the things you are facing, and then it looks very tempting. It looks very, very tempting. It
Yeah.
can be demoralizing and then very
Yeah,
manipulative.
like in before Nigerians used to be able to afford their basic needs. Now, basic needs, basically, most people are spending money on just feeding and transportation. So, basic needs, you're barely covering your basic needs. And what is even worse is people online seemingly living this soft, lavish life with crypto, with money moves, soft lives, and you
Mm,
are wondering like what exactly are these people doing that I'm not doing? And some of these people are the people that end up promoting these kinds of Ponzi schemes, right?
mm.
And you're like, oh, maybe this is what this person did too. And it's more believable because these are people that supposedly are living it up online and on the
Yeah,
internet,
yeah, the
right?
soft life. Yeah.
And it's very concerning. But let's even take it a first further, right? It's not just whining about Ponzi schemes because, to be very honest, there are more Ponzi schemes on the way. In fact, we were discussing before we started recording this episode. We were discussing about all the Ponzi's. We've mentioned a few that have happened in the past.
Mm,
The likelihood of today, now, this moment, somebody repackaging a version of Ponzi scheme and trying to sell it out is very real. We know that people are still trying to sell out new packages. So we want to give you like an inkling into how you can actually spot a Ponzi scheme. What are the red flags? What are you supposed to be watching out for?
mm,
Because in essence, we are trying to tell you that all that glitters is not gold. In
mm,
Ponzi, it is never gold because
mm,
somebody is
mm.
going to always lose out. And that's one thing the only people that profit off a Ponzi scheme are the people that either put in money and don't put in money back, or the people that has initiated this Ponzi scheme and are making returns off them, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. If one key, like it's the easiest and key determinant is if somebody comes to you and promises you 20%, 30%, 50% in a short frame of time, right? In a
Mm,
short frame with
mm.
little to no losses. Somebody is telling you, oh, bring your money,
Yeah.
I'm doing this investment thing, just give me money in 3 days, I'll give you your 20K back, or things like that, right?
Yeah.
That's a key sign of Ponzi scheme. And let me explain. We'll explain why further down as we proceed.
Yeah, so in fact, it's important for you to run. Oh. There's this popular sound online, when all these kids you hear run. Oh. So just as you've mentioned, it's anything that promises outrageous percentage returns in a very short period of time. It's important for you to take a step back and take a closer look at what it is. So there are about four distinctive red flags that I want us to look out for. I mean, um, when you see unrealistic returns, something that sounds too good to be true, something that requires little to no effort, most often times no effort, but then the returns are quite, mesmerizing. It's important for you to be quite to look at it as a questionable uh, red flag. When you see referral commissions, they will always encourage you to bring people in. That's what most, in fact, 90% or 99% of Ponzi schemes are based off of referral commissions. Bring your mother, bring your father, bring your father's father, bring your father's friends, bring your father's friend's father. Just inviting you to bring more people, is also a red flag. When you observe, another red flag is when you observe that there's no verifiable product or service. There is nothing you can attach the whole scheme into.
Okay,
Yeah,
and I wanted to say, or the product or the service they are selling to you does not match the income and the return.
yeah,
So the product, you are seeing the product. The
yeah,
product looks like something that will cost 1 naira to make.
yeah,
And they are telling you this is what they are selling, that they are making 500 naira, 600 naira. And the math is not matching for the product or the service is not realistically tangible.
yeah.
So I'm buying gold, but you're
Mm.
not physically seeing the gold. Is a gold Ponzi something, because there are Ponzi's and there are Ponzi's. I feel like now Ponzi's are not so popular. Maybe that's why people are now falling into this new version of it. But yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, thank you for such a profound contribution. I mean, it's something that we should always keep an eye out for. Another red flag is, fake or questionable social proof. Many of these platforms, they love to show testimony. They love to show evidence. They love to manufacture evidence and, bring it to your for you to see. They showcase flashy testimonies, fake testimonies, fake celebrity endorsements. Funny enough, I mean, I'm not going to mention names. There's a particular platform that came up last year, and then they tried to use a popular celebrity, an artist, to promote their platform, their brand. But then it got to my knowledge. I noticed that the artist in question never had anything to do with such platform. They were sued actually. So, but you can imagine if they had gone far with their products or their platform, the number of people that they would have gotten money from. You know. So
will now cause this artist without his awareness to be liable for
yeah,
something he doesn't know about, especially when people, because of him, would trust these
yeah,
people in essence.
they would attach the person to the platform. Yeah,
But to be honest, right,
yeah,
we know that when people saw this CBEX, it was looking sketchy. We are familiar with too good to be true schemes. We've come
yes,
from the days of MMM, except is people that maybe were not around or in the
yeah,
know.
yeah,
But even during that MMM period, right,
yeah.
there were 5,001. There was Loom. There were different smaller niched Ponzi's
Ponzi
like that.
schemes. Yeah,
But the reason why people join, even with people with experiences from MMM, loan, and the likes,
yeah,
is that they thought they would be above the collapse. Like
yeah.
everybody is
You'll
striving.
be able to.
Now, is a lot of people that join these things now, they have a knowledge that this thing will crash. So they go, oh, I just want to put my money and remove it quickly so that
Mm-hmm.
I'll remove my money before it
I'll
crash.
be the first set of
I don't
people.
want
Yeah,
I'm not going to go back more than once. I'll just do it once and collect my money. I'll just put a big amount of money.
yeah.
The point is not you cashing out in sense, is that the whole system itself is
That's
exploitative,
cool. Yeah,
and that the Ponzi is literally a trap. So whether or not you profit in essence, you
yeah.
are literally just scamming other people. So you're not outsmarting the scam, you are literally just propagating the scam, because that's why it's there. The main people profiting of people are the initiators, because they are the ones that literally take the bulk of the
Of the
money.
money. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so imagine if, because they're gaining from the longer these Ponzi's run before they crash, the more money or the more exploited, the more people that are exploited in the long run, the lower levels, and the more money the person at the top gets. So no matter how much you feel you cash out from them, propagating the system, is what necessarily hurts people. And that's why I'm very sure a lot of people that create these new Ponzi traps have you that either fallen victims to previous ones or have participated successfully in previous ones. But the point is, these things are generally bad because it hurts people. The business model of Ponzi scheme is to hurt people.
Wow, okay. In fact, thank you so much for such an insight. Based on your analysis and your explanation, it's safe to say that I am a wise one. I am a smart person because I've fallen victim to, I think two. I've only ever fallen victim to about two Ponzi schemes throughout my lifetime. So the fact that I did not fall for this one means that I'm learning my lesson, or I've learned my lesson. You know, so it's. Thank you so much for such profound insights. So the dangerous part about this thing is actually becoming normalized. We joke about entering early, make I quickly collect my money, run, things like that. You enter the thing and then you want to remove your money early. Whether you cash out or not, you benefited from another person's loss because of the cycle at which is designed. You know. So I think we can look at different ways at which we can protect ourselves, not just about red flags. What are the preventive, or what are the steps we can take to prevent things like this from happening? How can we better equip ourselves from falling victims to Ponzi schemes? The very first thing I'll talk about is for you to question everything. And I don't mean that in a way that you question each and everything. Just be very curious. I have this philosophy or way of life at which you can never ask too much questions. As far as you are not clear or you are not sure of what it is a particular thing is, you can never ask too much questions. You can never be too careful. You can never be too curious. If someone offers you an investment that they can't clearly explain how it will work, or show you evidence, or show you their regulatory backing, that is the agencies or the government organizations that have approved or certified them, run or walk away. So that's an important step that you can take to protect yourself.
Okay, yes, definitely. Like that's one of the things. Let them show they are working. You tell me this thing is making 20%. You should be able to show me
In detail.
in detail, or at least give me a summary where to look that this thing supposedly makes 20%. According to my dad will say, what are you selling that you want to make that kind of money? Because maybe most people are familiar with like product based business. I buy something 1 naira and I sell it 2 naira. And the reason why I'm selling it 2 naira is because I have to pay my staff, I have to pay for marketing, I have to pay for transporting the thing from where I bought it. That's how the money adds up to increasing the initial cost of a product. Now you are selling something to me that doesn't have physical or tangible value. You're just saying I should bring money and you will double it for me. How? So that's very important thing. And one other thing I feel like is very important is that we need to get education in terms of have an understanding of if the people cannot answer your questions. I think even being aware of how simple things work so that somebody cannot use those things to bamboozle you into a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
Right? So follow platforms, learn about because one popular thing people try to use for duplicitous activities, not just Ponzi, is cryptocurrency or forex trading or things like that. And information is always on the internet. I think getting educated, listening to podcasts and platforms, a lot like Settalks, give you abreast or give you a better understanding of certain things so that somebody doesn't come and tell you, oh, cryptocurrency, this, and you are swoon away, blown away with
Yeah. With
buzzwords here
yeah.
and there
Yeah.
and talk of money. The money is entering your eye, the interest is entering, and you're not clearly having an understanding of what's going on. So when you understand, like there are some things you understand that somebody cannot use to cheat you, in essence, right? And one thing I would also like to add is that any business that a possible outcome of it exploits other people for it to make profit. I think it's businesses that we should stay clear of. Personally, it's not just is this thing going to work. If in the working of it, it requires somebody else to lose directly or indirectly. If oh once people stop entering, the last person to enter will not get anything. That's a key sign. That's a red flag. That's if you hear a business like that. One way you should not encourage the business is don't enter. People that are entering or want to enter, tell them that because you feel like this thing will exploit other people, it's better nobody enters. You don't start what you don't finish. If you
Mm,
are looking for how to save,
mm,
join our job,
mm,
or
mm.
you lock it in one of our 1,001 applications or um savings applications. And you'll be wondering, you may want to say, sorry, I'm taking a bit of our time, but you may want to say, how do these tech platforms save money? They tell you how they make money. That's why they are not promising you return 20% returns in 1 day. They make money because they invest in money markets and treasury bills. You can follow them online, you can ask questions. A lot of this, and one thing is that they are registered. So CBN has a list of fintechs that are registered with them. So if you want to invest in a fintech and you are forming is a Ponzi, it's not. There are laws that guard them.
Yeah, yeah. Don't start what you cannot finish. Soundbite. Uh, Thank you so much for that contribution. One other thing I would also like to talk about. This is not necessarily focused on our listeners, the average Nigerian, but is directed at our regulators. You know, we have so many regulatory bodies. We have the EFCC, we have the CBN, which is basically the most um, one of the most recognizable body. We also have the SEC, that is this Securities and Exchange Commission. Most of these regulators, most of these regulatory bodies need to actually step up and help us. It's not it's not after the damage has been done that we begin to hear things. Imagine I was reading or I was listening on the to the radio, and then I heard that the EFCC are trying to make efforts to see how they can help those or the victims of this CBEX scam.
CBN program.
And then in my mind, I felt like, I mean, if they are successful, fine. But then if they are not, it means that they are too late, and then all their efforts is not it's not helping anybody. So they need to help with cracking down these things early. You know, before the damage is done. We also have many of these influencers, many of these communities that rush on every opportunity to promote, these platforms, these schemes. They should stop hosting or amplifying these fraudsters. They should look and study deep into these platforms before they engage or before they promote. So those are the steps that can be taken or used to prevent such from happening again.
Yes, that's very true. And in to be very clear and in closing, right? It's important, let me say it audibly enough. It is important that you are aware that these scams, these Ponzi scams are always constantly they are in the works. As one is closing up. In fact, some people may be using the fall of CBEX to market another Ponzi scam to you. So you need to shine your eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my daddy always said shine your eye. I used to like to quote my dad.
Okay.
Shine your eye, right?
Yeah.
CBEX has come and gone, it has crashed. There are some small ones that didn't trend when they crashed, but they still crashed, right? So it's important that you are aware and you are learning. And you are not just learning what the scam looks like in terms of its working. You are learning about things that they may use or rebrand to sell these scams to you. Somebody should not come and meet you and say, green energy is the way to go. Yes, I agree, green energy is the way to go. Bring 100,000, I'll give you 150 in 5 weeks. How does that relate to green energy? Because if you have an understanding of all these buzzwords, they sprinkle something new. They tell you AI trading. And AI now CBEX was based on bot trading. Now they're telling you AI trading. And no, it's not like CBEX, it's not crash. They should show you the AI model. If they should show you the AI model, you should ask questions on where is this AI model trading on? What is the validity of the trading platform is being used? And one popular one that has come and gone is coins. digital coins. They will bring it to you. Oh, this new coin and bring 10,000. Yes, there are a way cryptocurrency works, which if you have a base understanding or you study about it, right, you will not be bamboozled into falling victims, right, into Ponzi scheme. So in the end, you just have to look out for how and why they would brand something and do your own study.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your insights on this episode of Set Talks podcast. I want to believe that our listeners have taken something out of everything that we have said. Ponzi schemes are always coming up, they're always popping up. CBEX is down, like as Jane has mentioned, but then there are other ones that they're already in the works that are cooking already. With many exciting, and many flashy testimonies that they will bring to you and make you believe. So it's important for us to steer clear of these things. One thing that will remain constant is desperation. People are always desperate. People always want to be better. Even those that are at the comfortable position in their life, they want to be better. Like, many people are not always satisfied with where they are. But then desperation is the soil where scams grow. You know, Once there's desperation, it's easy for scammers to operate. It's easy for scammers to deceive and manipulate. But now you know better. So please be wiser, stay sharp, and stay safe. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Set Talks podcast.